Welcome aboard, it's Captain G with the Operation Newblood Turn 13 summary for July 1942. No key events this year, but starting next year, the British and the Americans may begin to execute Operation Overlord. And in only 3 short turns, or after only 3 more short turns, we start rolling for end of game in July of 44. But we're still in July of 42, so let's take a look at where we are. From an income tracker, the US economy remains the world's biggest at 62, plus the 12 bonus that they get now for the reconquest of the Pacific colonies of Japan. Germany is behind it with 53 plus bonuses. The Soviets at 51, Japan at 49, making up for the lost income in the US with Indonesia and starting into Southeast Asia, which we'll talk about shortly. For the middle powers, Italy stands alone in the 20s at 21. The UK is behind it with 19. And then Far East Command, Anzac, Vichy, the Chinese, Free French, etc. From technology, looks like the Axis is losing their technological advantage. The US has already completed 4 technologies. The Soviets have completed 4 technologies. So the Common Turn and the Western Allies are ahead of the Axis powers at any one Axis power, rather, I should say. With Great Britain having 2, that gives the Allies a total of 6 and the Axis a total of 6 technologies, with several more lined up, as you can see. We take a look at the map. In the Americas, definitely the US is becoming an armed camp. The 5th Air Force, formed up in New York, is heavy bombers, heavy troop transports, additional troops, as well as a whole mechanized corps and some Marines in DC. That task force is this one here, so battleships, heavy cruisers, and now a carrier with actual aircraft on it, supporting and protecting the 3 transports. In the Philippines, site of one of the key battles this past turn, there's another American flotilla off the coast. There were several attacks made on or around the Iberian Peninsula, with American heavy bombers based in the US flying all the way to Gibraltar, with devastating 10 dice at 2, bombing all of the Italian dug-in positions, but the Italian fighter took out half the bomber force. And the new strategic bomber from the Italians had conducted a bombing raid in Portugal on the US positions there, but the US has refortified and reinforced that. So we'll see that back and forth and how that goes. The Americans are starting construction of their own air base. They'll be able to station some aircraft, and we'll see what happens after that. Another key battle this last turn was in northern England, with Churchill's armored force retaking the north, leaving only the Scotsmen who were fighting with the Germans for their independence, abandoned now by the Luftwaffe, who left the last toehold of the Kaiser in Scotland. Still all quiet on the Eastern Front. Germany and the Soviets are not at war. Why would they be? They continue to have a non-aggression pact, but the Soviets are at war. They're at war with the Commonwealth. The German attempt to attack southern Iran failed entirely. Rommel's better in the desert than he is in the mountains, and he had to retreat. That flipped all of Iran from neutral to pro-allied, aligned with Great Britain. And then Stalin chose that moment to strike, declaring war on the Commonwealth and taking Azerbaijan and northern Iran. In Africa, the Italians have gobbled up a lot of territories with no IPP as the two jungle armies square off against one another. This is the closest I could come to a French tank destroyer. Never occurred to me to paint one for them, but the Americans have Lend-Leased a tank destroyer. Looks like this one was manufactured in Brazil, but it was American Lend-Lease to the Free French, and it's taken up its position in the jungles. So we'll see what happens in the last pocket of fighting right now in the African continent. We covered the fighting in the Middle East, but if we go to South Asia, Japan has captured, at least for now, Calcutta. That crippled the Far East Command's economy. They lost all their income for one turn. They will be able to recover and build some units, not all, but some units outside of Calcutta where they don't have a factory. But we'll see they're pulling their Gurkhas back as another amphibious assault took Siam and Cochin, China, and they've dug in some militia up in the north to see if they can hold off. They have a large presence in British Malaya, but it's flanked on either side by, literally, by Japanese task forces, the likes of which no other part of the world has seen. China itself, the communists, motivated by the Soviets' attack on the British, are mobilizing their forces and heading west. We suspect the KMT is their target, but we shall see where they go. And no additional moves or attacks in the far south of the Pacific. Anzac is turtling and preparing for their home defense. And the U.S. has not made any efforts to repair their airfield that they bombed themselves or put a Pacific presence out yet. But it's still early in the war from the U.S. perspective, but late from game perspective. So can the Allies overcome the Axis advantage? Is this the start of the red wave? When we go to victory cities right now, you can see there are no victory points from a strategic objective standpoint. Right now, at least, for the Allies of the Comintern. The Axis have 6. And then you can see the strategic cities where the Allies have 2, the Comintern have 2, and the Axis has 6. Next up will be Germany, turn 14, the final 3 turns before we start rolling for end of game, January 1943. On behalf of Mark the Shark and Lancerbolt and Eggman, this is Captain G, over and out.